Well, good afternoon, everyone. I show 12 o'clock on the dot. I am Debbie Dennison with the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board. We always have a couple of last minute folks that trickle in, so I'll briefly talk about what we're going to be discussing today, introduce our panelists and presenters, and then we'll go from there. Each month, as you all know, we have an opportunity to lift up some of our workforce partners. Again, just to share in the camaraderie of all of the workforce resources that are out there. August is Job Corps anniversary, and so we reached out to our friends at Job Corps. They are the nation's largest free residential career training and education program for low-income young adults ages 16 through 24. And we have three speakers today that will be touching on only the overview of Job Corps, but then also what they're doing specifically in their areas. As you will find, while it's a USDA program, there are different contracts out there at the different centers across Kentucky. So I won't steal any more of their information, but at the same time, happy to have you here at this partner spotlight for August the 2nd. I'm going to turn it over now to Daryl Cross, who is an educator down in Frenchburg. And yes. Daryl, if you would like to kick us off here, we'll get things going.
Yes. Well, I would like to say hello to everybody, all of my friends, and I call them family over at the other Job Corps centers. Everybody else that's out there listening, we really appreciate you all just kind of tuning in and wanting to get familiar with Job Corps. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't really know the depths of Job Corps. Job Corps has been around for a long time. I've been in the Job Corps for probably over 20 years now. I worked in probably just about every department. Started out in education. I was a math teacher. I got an endorsement in driver's ed. I even helped kids get driver's license and permits, which I don't know if I would say everyone needs to get into that area, but it's fun. It is really fun and exciting. I worked on the trade side a lot with trying to, get kids the specific trades that they need. Job Corps is a very unique program. I believe in it. Very positive when it comes from these kids from all over the world, in the different local areas, inner city, kids that come from rural areas. It's a positive program that offers a lot of positive things when it comes to the education side, helping kids get high school diplomas and also GEDs. That's the areas that I usually concentrate on, making sure that they're educated, making sure they can walk out to the workforce and be able to do and accomplish the things that they need. Job Corps is, again, very unique. We work within the Forest Service also. Frenchburg specifically has a wonderful fire team. We're building our fire team back up. We're getting kids out on disasters that's out in the world. And anytime things happen, we'll get a team or two to try to get out there and help the communities. And also one of the incentives and the benefits that our kids do also have is they make a lot of money off the fire crews and the camp crews. So these are some positive things that Job Corps has to offer. I always call it a three-part program. Residential, I got to give a lot of props to the residential side because I've worked there before. And, residential's the time that these kids are on their leisure time, and you got to be really, really, careful on what they do on their leisure time. You got to watch them. You got to make sure, they're doing the things that they're supposed to do. So, residential side, trade side, education, we're all just a big circle. We need to work together. I always say it on the Job Corps programs, we need to teach these kids the positives. We need to continue to encourage them and be definitely wonderful role models for them in their lives, because they're the ones that are going to be the ones that walk out into the world and represent us really soon, when it comes to them becoming productive citizens. So, um, touching base a little bit on what we call our acronyms WBL, work-based learning. Another huge incentive that we have here at the Frenchburg Center. What we do is we go out to local businesses or even businesses that are a little bit away from the center. We're in a remote area, and we try to just encourage these kids to get out in the workforce and not really work for a high salary, but work for a little something, work for the experience for the local businesses, so then they can get that hands-on experience. So when they walk out into the real world, they'll have a little bit of incentive on knowing what to do and how to act and how to behave when it comes to getting into the workforce. Um, I touched base a little bit on the fire teams, which fire teams are very important. That's one of our nucleuses when it comes to Job Corps centers. We want these kids to get out on these disasters and do the very best they can when it comes to representing Job Corps and also making the money that they're going to make when it comes to the fire teams. Um, what else? We have on the education side, we're looking at two programs at Frenchburg. We look at Penn Foster, which is an online high school program, and really overall, Job Corps, the education side department, we're actually really geared for GEDs. The GED kind of, I don't know if I should say it slowed up a little bit, but most of the kids, fortunately, they want that high school diploma. So I mean, whatever's best for them, we try to accommodate them and try to get them into a specific area so they can walk out of Job Corps with one of the two, either high school diploma or GED if they don't come in with their education. And that's kind of sums it up on the Frenchburg side with what we want to offer, what we expect of our kids. Like I said, we all need to be positive role models. We all need to help these kids just be encouraged and be positive in whatever endeavors that they do. We try to stick behind them and be the best role models that we can do, so they can be the best productive citizens out there when they walk into the real world.
That's
So
awesome, Daryl. A couple of questions that I have.
yes.
You mentioned Penn Foster. How else do you all recruit? Or in the Frenchburg area, are you so well known that people just come to you? I mean, what is Job Corps' secret sauce in getting people to come to you?
Well, great question. Great question. So our recruiters, we have recruiters here. We have specialists that work in these areas. What they usually do on our centers, they go out actually hands-on. They go to the local high schools in the area. I know we put letters out to these local high schools. Any type of other programs that's out there, if there's kids that having dilemmas or issues in their lives that a lot of these kids, public school system is becoming a little tougher for them. A lot of our students need that hands-on. They need that communication. They need that maybe a little bit more time and testing. Unfortunately, the public school system, as we all know, they're made up of a lot of students. You're looking at maybe 30, 40, 45 kids in one classroom. Job Corps offers a little bit more smaller classrooms, a little bit of hands-on. So these kids that are coming out these public school systems and they want to get another second chance, they come to us and we recruit. We go out to these high schools and we give our presentations out there, and if a lot of these kids are interested in our area, not just the education side, but also the trade side, because trades are where it's at right now in our world today. You can get a certification, you can get a certificate within a year, 12 months, 24 months now, and then they're ready to make their money. They're ready to go into the workforce. They're ready to get that apartment, that new car that they're wanting. So these are the things that we push for. We always get out to the local areas. We do our brochures, we do our advertisement. I know in this area, there's even a Job Corps commercial that goes out. and we touch base with court systems. So we try to dig in, just about every area in our community, even the surrounding areas, some of the bigger cities like Lexington, Kentucky, some of the Ashland areas, some of the bigger cities. And when we put this stuff out, we get quite a bit of feedback. Kids are interested in coming to Job Corps. The 4-year high school thing is, I'm not saying it's becoming obsolete, but I think the kids are wanting a quick learning ability, learning experience, getting these trades, getting this education, this high school diploma, GED, and they're wanting to get out to the real world right away.
Thank you for that. Any other questions for Daryl? And as others might be thinking of questions, I want you to know who's on the call right now. We've got folks from employers and businesses. We've got folks from our local area workforce development areas. I see West Kentucky. I see, predominantly West Kentucky in that regard, and that's good. We've got 2 executive directors on here, our Office of Adult Education, which certainly has a plethora of opportunities for youth and adults in learning, continued learning. And then we've also got Cora McNabb, which is our executive director of the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. Part of the benefits of these spotlights is to make sure that we're just sharing our Rolodex, right? I'm old enough to know what a Rolodex is. So we're just sharing with one another who we know so that you can pick up the phone and collaborate and work with each other going forward. We also have on the call today our chair of the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board. And Chair Minke, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you just want to say a couple of things about what you know in Job Corps and even as it relates to some training opportunities, we'd love to hear.
Great. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you all for taking time today. And Daryl, thank you for your participation and the presentation you've made thus far. I did have a couple questions for Daryl, though, just kind of to put some more framework around the good work that you're doing there in Frenchburg. What are some of the numbers and the demographics or the kind of where these students are coming from? What are the age groups and how long are they staying with you before they transition into that next step of life? Can you share a little bit more of that and a few of the metrics or the data around how many folks you're serving or that you can serve, and those kinds of things?
Awesome. Probably some of the other Job Corps participants, they have a lot of that information also with their center specifically. But Job Corps, Frenchburg is specifically a smaller center. Our OBS, which is our onboard strength, basically right now is sitting at around 50. I think we're sitting at around 57 students right now. And unfortunately, it's due to the COVID. COVID kind of put a lot of our centers, on the back burner when it came to not having kids, specifically on our center. So we're sitting at a capacity right now. I think we're about 57 students, and I think our max is like right at 100. So we're working on students coming in. They're coming in from everywhere. Our areas, we're trying to recruit local kids now in our area. Our kids can come from anywhere from Florida, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. We try to stay more specifically on the Southeast area. We're open for anyone. We're open for any student that, basically meets the qualifications that we expect. Our program is a 2-year program. And I've asked Department of Labor before, Forest Service for a little extensions before on our students, if they need a little bit more time, or some of our kids are on the aggressive level. They finish within 9 months, 12 months, and they're not ready to walk out to the real world just yet. So what we do is I'll usually offer them another trade. I'll offer them more incentives to stay on Job Corps Center for a little bit longer. We get kids, anywhere from 16 to 24. So all of our students might not be ready to walk out into the real world and go into some of this employment right away. The maturity level might be different. Education background might be a little struggling, where we need to get their tape scores up. Even maturity levels, we look at. So within 2 years, we try to get a hold of that and grasp that and do the very best we can, so we can get them ready for the employers that are out there looking for, some strong competition, basically. So number wise, I would say, we're probably at the 80%, 85% of our success rate when it comes to our kids. Most of the kids that come here, they want to finish their education. They want to finish their trade. So, we encourage that. We're behind these kids 100%, so they can be ready for the employment that you all have to offer.
And I think Nick Cobb put in the chat that he's going to have the whole state, some of those numbers, Chair Minke, that you just asked about. So are there any other questions for Daryl at this time? If not, we can move to Nick and he can share some additional information. Kim Humphrey, also on our KWIB board. Good to see you. So Nick, if you want to take over, please do. And I think you can share your screen, but let me know.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And it's wonderful to see Miss Humphrey. Have a great working relationship with Miss Humphrey. So as Mr. Williams from Whitney Young talks about work-based learning and internship, we actually have students right now who are working for Miss Humphrey's company on work-based learning and internship. So excellent opportunity. She is a huge supporter of the Job Corps program. Glad to see her on here today. So give me just a moment. I'll share my screen with you. So can everybody see screen okay? Awesome. So I was asked to talk a little bit about Job Corps recruitment as a whole. I'll also talk a little bit about some Earl C. Clements in Morganfield, some of the things that we're doing here. So Job Corps as a whole within the state, we have 7 Job Corps centers, 3 on here today, but you're looking at Earl C. Clements, for me, is the second largest in the country. We have a contracted onboard strength or student population of 1,022 here at Earl C. Clements. We're about 700 acres, so we're an extremely, extremely large center. But you can see as a whole, contracted onboard strengths for centers across the state. And then you can kind of see these numbers were based on the end of June student enrollment. Of course, those go up any given week. That is one advantage of Job Corps. Many centers have open enrollment, so they enroll students every single week. For Earl C. Clements, we arrive students every single Tuesday. The application process is 6 to 8 weeks typically for a student. But with that, every single Tuesday, we have brand new students. We arrived 10 new students just last night. So that is one advantage of Job Corps. Students don't have to wait till the traditional August, January enrollments either. So as a state, the state centers currently, based on our COVID OBS, those are about 70% of our contractual onboard strengths. We have about 745 openings as of right now. As our contracted, the statewide, we're about 1,400 students short. So, we all know 5, 10, 12 students that could take advantage of the program. Those recommendations would be great, help fill up our centers and help train young people. So student eligibility, what a student has to do to be eligible for the program. U.S. citizen or lawfully able to work, We do have students who have green cards or are refugees. We do work with them on that immigration process, making sure all their documents stay current. As an employability aspect, when our students leave the program, we want them to be able to go immediately to work and not have any holdup or hindrance. 16 to 24, when we say 24, as long as we can get them arrived to a center prior to their 25th birthday. Mr. Cross mentioned 2 years in the program. They're still eligible for that full enrollment of 2 years. And if they go to a college or an advanced training, they actually get an additional third year. So if we can get them here by 24 years, 364 days, they can still take advantage of the program for that 2 to 3 year mark. And then we have some students that are over 24 years old based on a disability or a waiver. We have some veterans who are over the age of 24 that Job Corps waives for additional training that they may need. Low income. And when I say low income, from a recruitment side, it is sometimes very tough not to have a student qualify as a low income. You know, as you can see, there are so many different possibilities, and all you have to do is actually qualify for one of any of these. So it's not a this and, this is a this or that. You know, any type of public assistance through the last 6 months. Earned income. What I will say about the earned income as a recruiter and admissions, that's typically the last thing that we look at, because if we can meet some of these other qualifications, then we'll go to that earned income. Homeless, as defined by, you know, violence against women and the McKinley-Vento. So McKinley-Vento Act, that states that, you know, if you're transient, you know, if you're living with somebody not of a relative, if you know, don't have stable housing, if you are in a abandoned or a rundown situation, warehouse, vehicle, that all automatically qualifies. So McKinley-Vento is what school systems use to qualify students as homeless. So we follow that same policy. Free or reduced lunch. What I will say is the key word that I tell everybody in this, the way our policy is currently written, it says receives or is eligible for free and reduced lunch. So with that being said, one thing that with school systems right now, a lot of school systems, the entire system is on a free lunch system. So as long as that student receives a free lunch, then they could possibly qualify for Job Corps. So at Earl C. Clements, one thing that we do is we have a great relationship as we talk about training programs. We have a co-enroll program with the Union County High School. The Union County High School, all the students at Union County qualify for free lunch. So students from the high school take their traditional high school classes half the day at Union County High School, and then they come to us for half the day and take a trade offering that we have here. So it's a win-win for everyone. Students are still enrolled in high school. We have students that participate in all athletic events, and then they're still out with us working on a trade. You know, foster child, individuals with disabilities, again, special consideration for veterans of armed forces as well. I apologize. Background check. We do run a background check on every single student applicant. And as you can see, no individual, we're not going to disqualify them just based on them having any type of court system, you know, documentation, or they've been arrested previously. We have 3 major disqualifiers, which I've listed up on the screen. And then the other part is they're not eligible if they currently have an active warrant or upcoming court dates, current probation or parole. But that doesn't mean that if they get those items taken care of or completed, they would then become eligible depending on what those arrests were for. Job Corps also says that a student has to be, you know, barriers to education or in employment. So they have to either be basic skills deficient, school dropouts, homeless, runaway. We talked a little bit about those. A parent, or they just need additional education. You know, again, that's one of those sections of Job Corps qualification that who doesn't need additional, education or certifications or qualifications. So student has to have educational and training needs. Again, every student has to be willing to participate in a career and technical training program. And I'll go through some of those offerings from the entire state here in just a little bit. But if they don't have a high school diploma, they have to also be willing, if they enroll in a high school diploma program. Mr. Cross talked a little bit about, they have Penn Foster along with the GED program. We also have a MOU with the Union County High School system. We offer what's called the Victory Technical High School Diploma. So we have a principal right here from Union County School System on campus that reviews all transcripts. So as long as a student is under 21 years old, they're getting a state of Kentucky diploma, signed off on by our wonderful superintendent, Ms. Patricia Sheffer. So it's no different than a high school diploma that any other student at UCHS would receive. And then after graduation, one of the requirements, the student has to be willing to look for employment, gain employment, go into an apprenticeship, enter the military, or continue their education in post-secondary. Job Corps, we have a program that we work with every single student called MyPace that reverse engineers. We look at those 5 pathways and look at what the student actually wants to do, back it up to see what trade, fits best for that student versus, hey, let's just pick a trade and then, hope it works out at the end. We truly want to work with and build a plan for every single student that when they leave the program, they're going to be doing or on the pathway to doing what they truly want to do for a living. And then additional eligibility. There are some items that recruiters and admissions counselors from around the state, as they meet with the student and do interviews with them, they'll judge the quality and character of that student, how well they'll get along with the current student population. Would they be an asset or could they be a liability, and make a determination based on that. So I'll stop there real quick. I know that was a whole lot of information. Any questions about eligibility or enrollments?
If no one else has a question, I do have a question about pathways. You mentioned the 5 major sectors, and we know those because through the help of the KWIB, we help set those at the state level with the governor's approval. And they've been the same 5 for the last at least 12 years, if not longer. As we're looking to some of the economic development that's happening in the state, whether it's EV battery production or some of those other things, talk to us a little bit about flexing the programs that might be in place to suit a future workforce need in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing about Job Corps, as even we talked about the career and technical training offerings that I'll go through in just a minute. Job Corps has some flexibility that if we see that we have a program that's struggling maybe or is out of date, then we have the ability to petition the Job Corps National Office and bring in a new and incoming training program that matches what's in the workforce development field. So what I will say is Job Corps on a national level, with the infrastructure bill that was just passed, is pushing and leaning heavily on building what we call infrastructure academies. So reaching out to, okay, what are those fields in the infrastructure? What type of trainees are they going to need? And what kind of workforce are they going to need? And then how can we build those programs within Job Corps to supply employees based on that infrastructure bill? So I don't know if all the other Job Corps centers have had the pleasure of doing it, but I just got done. We had to do earlier this week, what we call an asset map. And it's looking at all of our assets in the infrastructure field, whether that's employers, whether that's workforce investment boards, that we can reach out to that can help build training programs for us. We also work heavily on the influence of what we call our workforce councils. So we have to have workforce councils for every single trade, bringing in industry professionals that review our programs, critique, criticize, and tell us what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong and what we need to change.
Absolutely. Just piggybacking on what Nick said, he's absolutely correct. Department of Labor also comes in and kind of keeps an eye on us and watches on, like he said, what kind of new job placements, job systems are out there. So Job Corps is always changing. We never stay still. Even with our kids, our students, we try to be a little aggressive on what's going on in the times. I know my kids always tell me I'm too old to keep up on things, but that's, we try to keep up on things at Job Corps staff wise, and we want to continue to get our kids out there. So whatever's going on and making the big money or real money, that's where we want to place these kids at and bring it into the Job Corps program. So he's absolutely correct.
Awesome. Thank you.
So in discussing a little bit about trades, with the 7 Job Corps centers, I looked at, what we have to offer, especially to employers. So we kind of look at clusters or sectors. In the advanced manufacturing field, our primary focus in that for the Job Corps centers is the welding area. You can see that, 5 of the 7 centers here in Kentucky offer welding. Again, speaking from experience on our center, we do, all the processes. So stick, MIG, TIG, flux. So anything an employer is looking for. And Mr. Williams may talk a little bit about it. Mr. Cross mentioned it as well. Industry recognized certifications. So like we have instructors here at Earl C. Clements that are AWS certified. So everything is done to standards of American Welding Society. Students leave typically from our welding program with about 13 qualifications that once they get the industry experience, they'll actually get the certifications to go along with it. So business and finance, 3 primary sectors there. So computer technician, both A+ and Network+, and then office administration. Civilian conservation, we actually have 3 civilian conservation centers in the state, but they really focus on both forestry and urban forestry, as well as firefighting, like Mr. Cross mentioned as well. Construction, as you can see, the construction offers a plethora of training opportunities. Majority of all these training opportunities are pre-apprentice programs. So the goal is when they complete this program, they move into an apprenticeship with a company or with the localized union. Some of them are sponsored by the unions. So like brick masonry and tile setting are sponsored by IMI or International Masons Institute. We also have the Home Builders Institute that sponsor a lot of these programs right here on our campus. Healthcare, certified nurse assistant, certified medical assistant, and then pharmacy technician. Culinary arts at 4 of the 7 centers. And then Carl Perkins is the only one in the state that actually offers the protective services, so security and protective services. And then the transportation industry, so heavy industry and Job Corps. You can see multiple facets of the transportation industry, automotively, and then we get into, and I'll speak a little bit about this just because I know it so well, the Inland River Program, or Deckhand. So individuals, we are the only center in the country that actually offers the Deckhand training program. So students are actually working out on the river with barge companies. We're training experienced deckhands that they're going to spend at minimum 56 days aboard a vessel in order to complete their training. And then there's advanced career training opportunities. So the difference between the training programs that I just went through and then the advanced training programs, advanced training, a student would have to complete a basic level training program. They are eligible to transfer from Job Corps Center to Job Corps Center. So with Earl C. Clements, we are classified as a advanced training hub for the East Coast. So we get students actually from around the country. that come to us for some of these advanced training programs. You can see we have advanced solar panel. So that is a new program we added in 2020, sponsored by the Home Builders Institute. But the last graduating class from that program was Alaska, Nevada, Oklahoma, to Georgia, Florida, and Massachusetts. So they all transferred from other Job Corps centers to come to us for those training opportunities. Also, I'll speak to Earl C. Clements if everybody doesn't mind. A program that we offer are advanced automotive. We have a partnership through the UAW LETC, Labor Employment and Training, that offers our automotive training program, but they have partnerships with Toyota T10. So we are a Toyota T10 recognized post-secondary education facility. So there are only 30 colleges that offer the Toyota T10 program in the country, 2 Job Corps centers. So us and Clearfield, Utah, our sister program being the other. And then we offer Mercedes-Benz specific technician training as well. So students are training to go to work both at Toyota and Mercedes-Benz as technicians. And then my little note on the bottom, additional opportunities at center's discretion. So every center has the opportunity. We do partnerships with Henderson Community College, as well as several other, but we have students that go through what's called our ACP program, or Advanced College Program. So they have the opportunity to take that basic trade and stay here on campus and go to Henderson Community College to advance their level of education. Again, we provide all the transportation for them to and from class, and make sure that they're doing everything they need to be successful in the college program. And then OTP programs, other training programs. Sometimes those are center specific as well as sponsored programs. So if we have an employer that says, you know, hey, we'll provide this training for 15 students over a 12-week course, we can bring students in specifically for that employer, specialize our training in that OPT sector, and let them do the training and put the students right to work for that company. So we have, again, that flexibility of assisting an employer to match whatever their needs may be. So some of the benefits for a student, most CTT offerings are self-paced. Mr. Cross touched on it a little bit, but and with our enrollment being every single week, it's not most of our offerings aren't okay, 6 weeks you're done or 12 weeks. We work with that student to make sure that they succeed. So if they don't get through the first time, maybe they have to take it a second or a third. But whatever we need to do, you know, just because a student doesn't pass a class doesn't mean that we're going to kick them out of the program. As long as they're making progress and doing what they're supposed to, we're going to continue to work with them. The industry recognized certifications, high school diploma, driver's license. So we have a full driver's ed program. I know Mr. Cross talked about it as well. Biweekly stipend. We actually pay every single student every 2 weeks. It varies based on how long they're in the program, anywhere from $35 to $70 every 2 weeks. And then they have no living expenses if they live actually on campus. Medical and dental services are available to the students. What I will say here about Earl C. Clements, we actually have a doctor that's on staff Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, as well as a dentist and hygienist. And I didn't put it in here, but, I did. Counseling services. So we have mental health counselors right here, drug and alcohol counselors as well. Residential, majority of all of our centers here in Kentucky are residential optional. So we do have dormitories here on campus, but we also have non-residential. So we have students that, you know, I can speak to Earl C. Clements, travel in every single day. They're in class from 7:45 to 3:15, and then they leave in the evening and go home. And then the biggest part is transitional assistance. So every center has a CTR, career transition readiness team, career transition services team that actually follow up with the student after they leave the program 18 months to 24 months after they're gone from the program. So that's an individual connected to the student. Typically, they know them before they ever leave, know what their plan is, but at least every 30 days they're following up with them and saying, hey, how's it going? What's going on? Can we assist you? Do you need help with, maybe they lost their job. Okay, what assistance can we provide to you to find another job, whether it be in your field or just a job that you may need? So again, I know a whole lot of information, very short amount of time. Any questions about that information?
Hey, Nick, Jason Luring here. Really a nice presentation. Thank you. And it's interesting. There was just an article in the Wall Street Journal. I'll find it and send it to you about about how difficult it is becoming to get your car fixed. And it was all tied to, kind of the workers and the programs you just were referring to. And man, what a real opportunity that is for the area. But I'll send it to you. But really nicely done. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And coming myself with an automotive background, that is my chosen field. That's what I did before I got to Job Corps. They used to say auto mechanics is not rocket science. Well, actually it is. Typically now a vehicle produced has anywhere between 13 and 15 computers on it. So not only are you a mechanic, but you're also a computer technician.
Amen, Nick.
Go ahead, Kim.
Oh, I was just going to say amen. Thank you.
And that's also why you pay premium rates to have
I was
somebody.
going to say, it's getting very expensive, Nick.
Yeah, if I can just make a comment, I know Nick shared with everybody that we at Alliance and Riverview specifically work with them very closely on anything that we may have coming up that would fit with their students. And just recently we're vacating one of our locations, moving to another. So his group of students have come in and helped us build shelves and do those kinds of things that every business needs whenever they do those types of moves. But I also want to share with everyone just a note that's beyond the workforce piece. Earl C is a great community partner, and their students will come out and help do various things. They have built things like picnic tables for the parks. They have, even during, if you guys remember the big flood, they came out and helped us put sand in the bag so we can help save some churches and various things like that. So that's the other piece of Job Corps centers that's very important to the communities that they're a part of. So before I have to go to my Green River workforce meeting, I just wanted to say that piece to everyone. And thanks, Nick, for the great partnership that we have.
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. This is what it's all about. And Nick and Daryl and Robert, if you all will drop your emails in the chat for folks to follow up. But Robert, we've got about 15 minutes left. What's on your mind and in your neck of the woods?
Yes, ma'am. Well, first I want to say hello to everybody. Thank you all for your time. My name is Robert Williams. I am the work-based learning coordinator here with Whitney M. Young. I'm not sure how I'm going to top Mr. Hall and Mr. Cross's presentation. They did a great job of touching upon Job Corps and what we're really about. My presentation today, I really want to focus on what I want to dive into a little more about work-based learning. Work-based learning or Job Corps for our students is a self-paced program. We assess their progress or percentage by what we call their TARs, or their training achievement record. As they progress through our program, they are completing, they're check marking these tasks off of their TAR. And what I do is when I feel like there's an individual ready for a work-based learning opportunity, I will really collaborate with their instructor, with my supervisor, and assess whether they're ready for work-based learning. Work-based learning altogether is a program designed to provide students opportunities with understanding of employer expectations in a real work situation. Work-based learning program also provides management with valuable input from employers regarding the effectiveness of our training programs. So with a work-based learning opportunity, it can be like Mr. Cross and Hall really touched on just briefly. Work-based learning can be paid or not paid if it's outside of the center. Work-based learning also can occur on center. There's several opportunities through our instructors that we have on site where students can obtain these work-based learning hours. But in a perfect world, in my experience, the student wants to go off center, they want to get paid. But they're not always paid. I know with Whitney M. Young, some of our outstanding partners that we have our work-based learning would be Wirecrafters for one. It's in Louisville, Kentucky. We put a lot of individuals that have started off as work-based learning that have turned into a full-time employee paid after they've left, and they've done outstanding things. They've gone on to do outstanding things. Another one of our outstanding partners that we work with closely in our pharmacy tech trade is the University of Louisville Pharmacy. We've been able to sign a work-based learning agreement with them, and we've seen a lot of success on both sides for them and us. So those are just a couple of examples of paid opportunities that those students, in my experience, want to have those paid opportunities, but unfortunately that's not always what happens. I also teach intro to work-based learning course before they even get to an opportunity to do a placement. And I was just telling them today, not everything is going to be in a perfect world you're going to get paid. Sometimes it's not going to be not paid, and that's your opportunity to kind of be on stage and show yourself to the employer that you're willing to be committed. Take those valuable skills that you've learned thus far in Job Corps and apply them to a real workforce situation, and earn that opportunity to be paid. So, I think that it's really a valuable lesson, for those not paid work-based learning opportunities as well. So, I just started in this work-based learning role probably about a month ago. I've been with Job Corps for about 3.5 years, more towards, I was a career transition specialist. So like Nick was saying, I was one of those individuals that was following up with them up to a year. So kind of having that perspective now, I can kind of take that to the work, the work-based learning side of it, and then reassure those students that we have here on center that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If you seize this opportunity, paid or not paid, there is an opportunity for you to be really successful and be ready to hit the ground running once you've transitioned outside of Job Corps. I know Nick touched a little bit about it, but I do oversee our workforce council and what also is called our community relations council. Right now, our workforce council happens every 6 months, and then our community relations council happens every quarter, I believe that's so 3 months. How I really see these two councils, it really not only provides the community and our partners with kind of what we offer. We've done it in a way here at Whitney Young where we've asked our partners to come in and kind of tell us what they've seen either through our Job Corps students or through the labor market. How could our training be more efficient? And we've got a lot of positive feedback from that. And we've been able to take that feedback and implement it into our training. But how I see these meetings is a way to really get the word out on what Job Corps is. These meetings are a fantastic, great way to do that, of course. But inviting you all to our workforce council and our community relations council, get the word out. Get as many young adults, 16 to 24, and there's other exceptions where you can qualify for Job Corps outside of just those two numbers. But get the word out, and hopefully build that OBS. I know that Mr. Cross referenced OBS earlier, for each Job Corps to really get each person that comes into our program successful. So.
Well, thank you for that information. And I don't know about you all, but I've learned more in this 48 minutes, 50 minutes than I knew about Job Corps previously. So to those that are already intertwined, to Mr. Williams' point, in what Job Corps is doing, stay intertwined and attend those meetings. For those of us who didn't know as much going on, we're going to invite ourselves to your all's meetings to better understand how we can fill you all 2,100 plus openings in the state of Kentucky. Is that right, Mr. Hall? Ish.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. As a whole.
Well, wonderful. Well, I know for our workforce development local areas, I know that out of school youth and tracking them, and I mean, sometimes it's very difficult, right? So it sounds like you all have a place if we can find them and engage them to send them for additional training. And I'm sold. If I had any of those qualifications that you mentioned, then I'd sign up today. But appreciate. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and just real quick before everybody gets off, and we didn't talk a whole lot about it, but ultimately the Job Corps goal is to get young people back into jobs. So when Job Corps and Department of Labor actually look at our program for success, they actually grade every Job Corps center in the country based on, did the student get a job? What's their wage? Mm-hmm. Is it a job in their field? 6 months later, are they working? A year later, are they working? So that's why you hear that year to 18 months follow-up, is because Job Corps puts an emphasis. About 70% of our grade used to be, until some new metrics just came out July 1st, but about 50 to 70% of our grade and our standing in Job Corps is not what they do here, but after they leave the program. Mm-hmm. So it's extremely important, so much so that Job Corps said one of our new metrics is what they call direct placement, number of students who leave with a job prior to graduation and separation from the center. So Job Corps, that is our key emphasis in making sure students are, good employees and are going to work when they actually complete.
That's incredible. Any final questions for our panelists from the folks online? Well, I'm sure you will be hearing from us. And Nick, if you don't care, I am going to promote your presentation along with this Zoom video for folks that are interested in going back, reviewing, learning more, reaching out to you all. But I can't thank you all enough for your time today, your expertise, your caring hearts. I think Daryl was having some video issues, as was Robert, but I can feel your hearts through just your voices and just the conversation. So thank you all for what you're doing for the pipeline, the workforce pipeline, and most importantly for these kids.
Thank you, Debbie. We appreciate it. Thank you for allowing us to put this program out there, because it's worth a lot to all of us.
Very good. Thank you. You all have a blessed day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.